Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Kate Richburg. It is Wednesday, August 20th. We survived the bead retreat. We had so much fun. It was just really, really great. I see some of you retreaters in the comments. Good morning. I went on my very brisk morning walk. I'm still in my walking clothes. What you can't see here is like below. Yeah, walking clothes, tennis shoes, tights, all that stuff happening, walking tights, whatever. So I pulled my hair back, put on some Say Something earrings, slapped on a little bit of lipstick or lip gloss or whatever that's sitting here, and I'm ready to go. It was really great fun. We had so much fun. Friendships were made. Friendships were renewed. Lots of laughter. I might have even shed a couple of tears of gratitude and joy. It was amazing. We had a really, really great time. We had a lot of fun. Gosh, it was great. And thank you, Jan. That's really very sweet of you to say. We did have a lot of fun. We ate, we drank. It was a lot of fun. So I came home yesterday. The retreat ended yesterday with a fantastic lunch. I think everyone will agree that the food is incredible there. It's really fantastic. We ended with an amazing taco salad with very fresh homemade salsa. It was so good, and homemade guacamole. It's delicious. Miranda loved the salsa so much that she got a coffee cup with a lid and took some home so she could have it later with chips. It was awesome. But we had a great time. So a big thank you to all of the participants that showed up and communed and retreated, and to Janice, who flew all the way out, to Miranda, who worked so hard logistically getting everything done. Everybody checked out, all of that stuff. And of course to Emily and her amazing metal clay class. It was great. Alita, I miss you already. It was really, really fun. We had a wonderful time. We missed you, though. We missed you, and I missed you being on air and seeing all of you folks. So since I'm taking today off, can you tell? I'm taking today off. I thought I would put out a pretty simple live. I want to go over the needles, our Needlepedia. We had some questions over the retreat weekend about, needles and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go over the Needlepedia. It's an amazing document, amazing resource that we have. I also wanted to let you folks know, a couple of you have asked, we had a retreat coupon out this past weekend, right? It was a sale. It was Retreat 20. Well, my retreaters were so busy retreating, and they did some, we had some special retreat items. They did plenty of shopping, but I had a couple of questions about, Kate, can I still use Retreat 20 when I get home? Well, if you're home, and I can't just let the retreaters use it, I'll let everybody use it. So I reactivated it this morning. I'm only telling you this on live, okay? It's not in the newsletter. I'm not putting it on the homepage. I'm just telling you. Today is August 20th, 2025. Retreat 20, if you put it in at checkout, will knock 20% off your total today. That way, if you have some shopping to do, Miranda doesn't have to back out your discount or anything like that if you email us and go, please. So shop today. if you want to use Retreat 20. If you were too busy or whatever, reactivated. So good tell, 11:59 Pacific time tonight on beadshop.com. Okay. I'll show it again before I sign off today. Okay. So I did that. What else do we do? And Terry Bass, it's also for you. Perfect. I know sometimes it just, I'll tell you, the weekend, it was nuts. We just had so much fun. Emily was really good. She took everybody on a morning walk every morning at 7 a.m. I was too busy like arranging product and getting ready for the most epic wrap bracelet class you've ever seen. So I didn't get my walk in, but this morning up bright and early, did my 1.5 miles. It was great. So I had to beat the heat because it's going to be a big heat wave here in Fresno. Janice, I'm going to put the Retreat 20 up so people can see it right now while I'm chatting. A couple of other things came up from the retreat. Janice did an amazing class. She did the tiaras and combs, and I made this one. I don't know why I'm wearing this headband. I should wear this. Let me take this off and let me put this on. Look at her amazing wire wrapped tiaras, right? I made mine. Isn't it cool? I just love it. And it's not really a tiara. It's kind of a headband, right? I should change my earrings to go with it, but it was really fun. I made mine on Sunday night, I guess. It didn't take that long. It was really fantastic. We had a lot of fun. I'm thinking about doing this closer, like sometime in the fall. And I'm thinking about kitting it. This is news to you, Janice. This is where Janice and I have our best meetings, when I'm on air and I tell her my ideas. I had this idea this morning as I was walking. And I thought, what was so fun about this is that Janice curated the beads. I sent her a bunch of my stock and stuff, right? Like this. So she curated all the beads for it. And I think that's what made it so fun. Look at how great it looks. So I think I want to do kits. Maybe we'll do like 2 colorways, maybe. I love it, and it just feels really good on. Janice said she's going to get the tiaras and combs for stock, and then we'll do it as an online class. For sure, we will. And thank you, JP. I think the kits will be really fun. You don't need a whole ton of beads. We'll do little baggies of beads, and then we'll have a lot of fun to play around with them. And then you can get the tiaras. Let's do 3. See, I knew it. She's super stoked about it, right? They were so fun. Everybody made a comb, at least one, some 2, right? And I have one. My mom made one. She showed up at the retreat. It was really fun. She made one for me that I love. So yeah, it was really fun. So we're going to do it in the fall. We'll do some kits. Janice will help me curate the colors and everything. Yes, JP, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Pearls, stones, and crystals. That's what we have here. Oh, sorry. It looks like, let me see if I can reconnect. I just got a notice that our Facebook stream fell out. Bear with me here. Maybe it'll come back up. Sorry about that. If you're watching us on Facebook and it went out, I hope that you come join us over on YouTube or wherever you want. Facebook, it's getting glitchier and glitchier and glitchier. Oh, I love it. Lynn says, oh my God, how many years ago were tiaras done at Beadshop? I remember, right? So yes, it was. So we'll do those The combs were really, really fun. Oh, thanks, Kim, for letting me know. Yep, Facebook not recovering. Don't really know why. Alita's saying yes, the project was so much fun. It really, really was fun. And this one's really comfortable. Sally, I made mine and I wore it all day yesterday. It wasn't too tight. It was great. So I feel very, I have walking hair. My hair's a mess, but, anywho, that's what's going on there. Let me make sure I've got this. And Joy, thank you, Joy. Some chantons. Yes, I love the chantons and we can totally get our hands on them. So we'll do a really fun, a fun little kit, with that. So, that'll be fun. There was a question about, oh, Terry, thank you for jumping over on Facebook and commenting. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you. You know, what we learned a lot this weekend. We learned it takes a village, right? That no one beads in a vacuum, right? So we really, really appreciate you. So thank you for that. Someone was asking what this bust was in the back. It's our mannequin, one of our mannequins. I have my, I should take these off. I've got my, sorry, that was loud. Oh, okay, I think it's dead. I've got my tote bags up here. I've got the tote bag from the retreat last year, so I've got to put my this year tote bag retreat. This was our mannequin from the office. So I've got this one, and then I've got my my vintage mannequin, sewing mannequin right here. So it's kind of fun to, you know, I trade jewelry out on there and stuff to look at and everything. So there we go. Let's put that back on there. All right. So yes, my mannequins. Yes. This piece, it's a really cool piece. This is a piece that's made out of metal clay, and it was made by our buddy Winnie Vanderen. It's a big, really cool metal clay, kind of almost like a breastplate kind of thing, right? It's really a killer piece. I'll show you sometime. It's kind of tangled up in there, so I don't want to take it off. Okay, so that happened. Tiara happened. Retreat 20. You can use the Retreat 20 coupon code from the weekend. I've reactivated it today. What else have I got? I think that's it. If I think of anything else there, I'll tell you. But let's go to, where did I put my glasses so I can see? Let's go to the project at hand. Okay. We are going to talk about all of our needles today. So, let me start by adding my other camera. We carry this giant pile of needles, and each of these needles are super important, right? They kind of all do different things. So I'm going to talk to you about that. Also, I wanted to let you know, needles, I'll show you on the homepage. I made needles item of the week this week. So they're already marked down 10%. So if you use Retreat 20, you can stack that. So needles will be like 30% off, which is nuts. So restock your needle stash today. I use every single one of these needles. I'm telling you, I know it seems crazy, but if you're a sewer like I am, right, you know that you need a bunch of different needles for sewing, especially like machine sewing, right? If you're sewing through leather, if you're sewing like really fine, if you're sewing stretchy fabrics, if you're using your embroidery machine, you know, a needle, that's where the rubber hits the road, right? So having the right needle really makes a difference. So we have a resource, right? That's funny, Terry. We have an amazing resource that Janice wrote up, let me do this. Let me get this there. There we go. So can you see here, all needles, item of the week on sale? If you click over to that, you'll see everybody is marked down. Okay, you'll see that there. Let me go back to the home page. We have a learning document that Janice originally wrote. Okay. And I wanted to go through it with you today. So let me show you. I'm going to go here. We're going to go to Beadshop, and I linked it in the newsletter this morning. See here under learning, we're going to go past skill builders. We're going to go past basics. We're going to go past Stitchionary, go past Miyukiography, and we're going to hit the Needlepedia. Here it is. Now, Janice created an original kind of handout that I actually need to relink. I found the handout and it needs a little bit of updating, but I moved Janice's pictures from that handout into this web page right here. Okay, so let's just, and this broadcast that I'm doing right now, I've linked it right here. Okay, so it talks a little bit about kind of just general info about your needles. Let's take a look at these bullet points. Bead holes matter, okay? Always test a small handful of beads, not just one, to make sure that your needle is going to fit through all of them. This is especially important in pearl knotting, right? Or if you're stringing semi-precious beads, because sometimes those holes in semi-precious and pearls are different, right? They vary a little bit. And even if they vary just a little bit, it's going to make a difference, okay? So check them. Thread plus needle equals double thickness. So I want you to remember, your thread is doubled when you're using a needle. And unless you're working with Griffin silk on a card, and then technically it's actually still doubled, but it's a nice tight connection, right? Because the thread, and I'll show you, the thread is actually a long thread. The wire goes on and the wire is twisted one way. The thread is twisted one way, the other way to make a long, needle and thread beading tool. So make sure that the combination of a doubled thread, even if you're stringing on a single thread later, the needle has to get doubled through, or the thread has to get doubled through the needle eye. Okay, so thread plus needle equals double thickness. Now, keep options handy. Just like cooking a great meal requires more than one pot. Beading often requires more than just one type of needle, right? Stock a few styles so you're ready for anything. And again, if you're watching us live and you're using your Retreat 20, if you're watching this later on replay, I'm sorry, that's not valid. But you can stack that savings. Store them safely. Protect your needles and your tootsies, your pet's feet, your kids' feet, right? By keeping them in a safe spot. What I do is I have all of my needles in a box that says needles, right? So I know where they are. Also with needles, maybe you have a broken eye needle or a needle that just isn't good anymore. What I do is I get an old pill bottle and I say, put used needles on it. And I just put old needles into that pill bottle so that I don't throw them in the garbage. And, they're skinny, so they'll escape out of the garbage and stuff. And you don't want to step on any of those or your pets. You don't want them ingested. You don't want them stepped on. Know your threads, okay? We carry a variety of stitching materials, but you can find all of those stitching materials in our Stitchionary. Let me click over just so you can see it. You probably know about our Stitchionary. It's all here. It's been updated to include some of our other threads and stuff as well. It's a really amazing thread resource. Okay. So you can learn all about that. And we carry, and thank you, Janice. I don't think you were around when we were talking about threads with one of the groups at the retreat, but everybody was really grateful that we carry such a wide variety of threads and a wide variety of colors. So you can jump over to stringing materials. We're also, those of you who are at the retreat got to see them, we're adding some colored soft flex. You're going to see that launch very soon. But we debuted it at the retreat and you folks loved it. So I'm really excited to share that with you. So I'm going to go through all of these just really quickly on the document, and then we're going to backtrack and look at the needles. Okay. So we've got two types of needles. Okay. We've got adjustable eye needles, which means that's a wire needle with the eye that kind of, that closes down, opens up, that kind of thing. And it's usually fairly flexible or malleable. Okay. And then we have rigid needles, like sewing needles. All right. They're perfect for beadwork that requires like a rigid needle, that requires the stiffness of the needle to get through the work. But unlike sewing needles, a sewing needle, the eye usually flares out like this, right? Beading needles, the eye is straight with the rest of the diameter of the needle. Okay. So you don't have to jump over that eye to, have your beads jump over that eye to fit. That's what makes beading needles particularly suitable for beading, right? That's what makes them special. So we've got flexible eye needles, and Janice drew these great little, did these great little photo vignettes, which are great. So I popped those out of her handout and into here. I'll pop all of this back into a fresh handout. So it'll be updated and I'll post it. But it was really out of date. So it's not up currently, but we'll get it back up. So we've got the flexible eye needles, and these are all linked here, right? So you can find the links, talks about them. I've updated it with some of our new things, right? I did that yesterday in between my nap. I got home yesterday. We unloaded the cars. I took a nap at 5. I woke up about 10, did the newsletter, redid this page, fell back asleep, and woke up this morning at 6. It was perfect. So that's why I'm feeling great. This also talks about what beads it fits, etc. Okay. So here's the collapsible eye needles. We'll talk about the difference between flexible and collapsible eye, right? And those are all the collapsible eye that we carry. We carry the big eye needle, and you can see in this picture, it's a needle that has a point at the top or the bottom. So each end could be the top, right? Very sharp tip. And the needle is split all the way down the center. Okay. You can make your own needle. I'm going to show you that with some wire here. The wire that we have now is a little different than that silver spool. We can't get it, but we have a craft wire in 34 gauge. So I'll show you that. You've seen us do it before. And there's the steps on how to do it. And then we get into the rigid needles. English beading needles in size 10, size 12, size 13. We have the color eye needles that I'll show you. Then we've got some specialty needles. We've got the sharps. We've got glovers. We've got tapestry needles. And then at the end, we've got Griffin silk. Isn't this a nice little visual that Janice did? See how she has the number 2, number 4, number 6, number 8, and she has the sizes of the fire polish beads and stuff on there. It's a great little chart. So it tells you which ones to use. And you can scroll down and you can see we've kind of made a listing of what fits on there. So it's a really fantastic, fantastic resource for you here. And again, I'll put all of that in a PDF. It's a little further down on our list. So, but I'll update the PDF. Okay. So let me go back. I know that there are a lot of questions here. So let me go here. Sorry. Let's see. Let's see, going through. Thank you, Kim Crawford. I appreciate it. All these resources, we are, we try and really get those resources up there. Let's see. Let me keep going. I'm just looking. Okay. So Joy starts with a question here. Can you use extra fine flexible needle with Charlottes? So the flexible needles versus the collapsible needles, we're going to look at those. Those needles are not stiff, right? They've got movement. They're malleable. It really depends on what you're doing with those Charlottes. If you're just stringing them onto a necklace or whatever and not bead weaving with them, the extra fine will fit. Okay. Carrie Keaton's asking, do the collapsible or big eye break easier? The big eye needles can break, and I'm going to show you how they break and how to avoid it. Okay. I'll show you. Let me see. We do have a new loom needle and loom that we launched at the retreat. We sold out of the looms that we had. Every single loom went. And we've got the looming needles for you. They're the long ones. So we'll add them to this. All of that launches next week. Okay. Let's see. If the new loom, Linda needs the loom, new loom now. I have it. I'll do it probably on free tip next week is probably what we'll do. Okay. I think you'll like it. The size 13 beading needle is a challenge, and I'm going to share a tip with you for that. I need to write some notes. So hang on. Let me get my paper so that I don't miss. I took my pad with me to, hang on, let me get a piece of paper right here. I took my notepad with me to the retreat, and I think it's still packed. Let me just get a piece of paper here because I've already forgotten. What was the other question? I was going to talk about, oh yeah, which needle breaks. Hang on. Big eye breaking. And I want to show you the trip for the 13 needle. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay, looks good. All right. So let me put our needles front and center. Let me do that. Okay, there we are. And let's take a look. Oh, I need to, hang on, I need to get my camo up here. Whoops. Hang on. Where's my production assistant? And Miranda's off today. That girl worked so hard this weekend. I mean, we all did. But she was like, I'll just come in and I'll ship. And I'm like, you are not shipping orders. Everybody can wait. You need a rest. So we'll be back to part-time production tomorrow. While we were away, Chris has been inventorying like crazy. So But we'll get back on. Shipping will resume, but we really appreciate your patience. But everything will resume shortly. Let's talk. I'm gonna clear all these out, and let's start with the difference between collapsible and flexible. Okay, because there's a difference. Okay. Collapsible, and let me get mine. I need to open my needle box and get a needle sample out here. Here we go. This one, I think this is the medium. You should be able to see that on the dark right there. And then let me get a flexible eye. My needles may be all in one place, but they're kind of in a jumble, so bear with me for just a moment. Whoops. There we go. Here's the flexible eye. They're both a wire beading needle. Okay. They're both like a twisted wire. They both come, they're kind of tangled here. They both come in a variety of sizes. Okay. For collapsible, we have them in heavy, we have them in medium, and we have them in fine. All right, we added all three to that. We also added a big eye collapsible. Can you see the difference in the size of the eye? These, I think, are kind of a sleeper. We don't sell a lot of, I mean, we do sell some, but these are a great one to have in your stash, because when you need to get a whole bunch of threads through and you don't want to use a big eye, if a big eye needle is just too heavy, if the wire itself is too big, pop down to the collapsible big eye beading needle, right? This is a great one. Now, in the flexible eye, we call it flexible because this little round eye flexes down. Let me zoom in so you can see it. Flexes down under the bead hole, right? And flexes down so you can get in there. We have these in a bunch of sizes. Extra fine. So super, they're really thin. I use these, to be honest, the least. Like if I were stringing, let's say that I were doing some super fine gem knotting, and maybe I had pearls that were the smallest pearls ever, or really fine like rubies or sapphires, things like that, and the holes were tiny, I'd use these. Okay? You need to make sure that your thread and your needle match, right? Just because your needle is extra fine, if you try and pull a thick thread through with the extra fine needle, you're going to bust your bead, right? So this is extra fine. Then we go to fine. I use this probably second, right? I use this a lot, but I don't use this the most. The fine is a nice size, really great for finer gemstones, smaller gemstones. Janice is saying she can't live without flexible needles. It's true. We've been using these old school, right? old school. We've been using these forever. This one, whoops, don't fall on me. This is the medium. This is the workhorse. This is what I use all the time for like my big multi-strand necklaces, all of that. The medium is my go-to. Then we added the heavy. So let's say that you're stringing with like Irish wax linen and you need a needle to go through big hole beads, things like that. It's a heavier needle. It's really great. And it's nice to have them. Okay. It's really great. And yeah, Terry, the flexible eye needles, I'll show you, it flexes only one way, right? They flex down, but I'll show you our little trick to flex them back open. Okay. We also have our old school needles. We do carry them. These are the Griffin made in Germany beading needles. That's what I have out here. This one. This is really the old school one that we used to really only carry one. We carried this medium. This is in a bag of 25 pieces. These are great. They're a little bit longer, but I actually like them longer because if you're working on the end and this has already started curling, right? These flexible eye curls. And so when you are beading, sometimes the tip starts to curl. You can cut these with your wire cutter, the tip away to get a fresh tip on the end. Okay. Too flexible for looming. Okay. Too flexible for looming, Carrie. We need a rigid needle for looming. So they're great. So that's this. And then you can see the packaged ones are, if I line it up here, there's the eye. They're a little shorter right there. Okay. So one of the main differences between these two needles, let's look at the eye, is the eye. Well, that is the main difference, right? Let me get in here. Let me go in so you can see that eye. With this one, I think my awl is still packed for the retreat too. Let me point with this paintbrush. That's what I've got. Oh no, here's an extra awl. Oh, that's awesome. Perfect. This is the collapsible eye right here. Can you see the very tip of that collapsible eye has a twist in it? So the purpose of that, when you thread this needle, you pull your thread down into that twist and it keeps your needle on the thread. Okay. So if this is my thread right here, now I need to find scissors. Everything is always packed away for the retreat. So it takes me a few days to get everything back in order, but let me thread this needle. I'm going to come in and I'm going to pull this down into that twist and see if I spin it around, whatever, that needle stays on the end. That's what these needles are for, to stay, right? This flexible eye, let me cut another piece of thread. It also flexes down. Both of these needles flex down to get through a bead hole. But let me show you if it'll flex down through this. This is just, it's a smaller eye, right? I pass it through double. This I think is fine Ceylon. So remember we've got this double like this, right? Let me get a bead here. I'm just using this for the bead hole. Let's see if that thread will go through this gem duo, because I really want it to flex down. See here, here's the eye. And see how that eye is now flexed down in there. Okay, like that. Okay. So if I want to reuse this needle later, right, if it's perfectly good, but the eye is flexed down and kind of closed, I get my awl and I come in, I poke the awl through the eye of the needle, round it back out like this, and there you've got your needle, your eye of your needle back. Okay. Oh, another Facebook streaming issue. Yeah, now my other Facebook page. Well, hopefully StreamYard will stay up. Facebook gets so glitchy, so hopefully YouTube will stay up, but I think it will. Okay, so that's how you reuse those. All right. Now Carrie's asking, what about Hannah and Silk? We use these flexible eyes for silk. Sometimes the eye can get sharp if you're doing a lot of repetitive, lots of beads on there, or if the connection between the eye of the needle and the thread is too thick. So your beads, you really have to pull them over the top, right? And that will really be abrasive on the thread here when it joins to the needle. So if your thread is breaking, it's probably because your thread and your needle are probably too large for what you're doing. Or if you like the size, maybe pop the needle size down, or when you're stringing, move the eye of the needle a little bit so that you're not always pulling through at the same spot. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Janice is also saying to open the eye, you can always use a toothpick or knotting tweezers as well. Okay. That will work. All right. So that's what these guys, primarily for threads like Ceylon, KO, silk. If you need a needle with Irish wax linen, any of those things, right? These are for stringing. All right. And you can, I would have a variety. I love the collapsible eye, especially now since we carry the collapsible eye in the fine and the fine size is what I want to say, because in the larger sizes, in the medium, sometimes this twist is a little too big to get through. Like, let me see if I can get this pearl on here. This whole size is pretty small anyway. But see how it stops it right there. You can't get this over because that twist adds some bulk to that. Okay, if that makes sense. All right. So these are great for stringing. Okay. The looming, Myra, this is a great question. Our looming needles, I think they're a size 10. I'd pull them out, but they're packed away somewhere here. And we will, as I say, we'll launch those next week with the looms. They're long. We opted to go with the size 10 because you're not doing a whole ton of bead weaving with the size 10. You're basically going, doing the warps once, on the top, once on the bottom. So you're not doing a lot of bead weaving, so the thread doesn't clog up the holes, and a size 10 should work with most beads. Okay. If we notice that we're encountering some issues, we'll add another size. Okay. But we're going to start with the 10. That should that should work. Okay. Let's go, on that note, let's go to rigid beading needles. And I want to talk about big eye needles. You know what's not on there at all that we need to update are our bead spinner needles. We need to add those. I haven't added those at all. I'll touch on those in a second. Hang on. Let me find a big eye. Here we go. We carry the big eye needles in 2 sizes. Thanks, JP. Appreciate you for just popping on. Enjoy the rest of your time with your people. Have fun. Talk to you later. Don't worry about a thing. We're all good. Big eye needles, we carry a 6-pack of assorted sizes and the smaller size as well. Okay, and I'll show you the difference is just really the length, and I want to show you how those open. Thanks. Emily's asking, will we be stocking the extra fine and extra heavy Beadalon collapsible needles? Oh, we can. You know, since we carry them in the flexible eye, we probably should grab them in there. We also have the collapsible eye. They sent me these in as a sample. We carry I have a sample of the collapsible eye super long. So I don't know, this might be kind of interesting to use, especially if you're using this with check glass. You could string all of your beads on here, right? Kind of check the design or the pattern or whatever, and then pull them on. These are heavy, the heavy needle. So I'll talk to Janice. We'll chat and we'll see, you know, what we want to add. But I've got these in my stash too. So here are the big eye. Let me show you. If you don't have the big eye needle, get it. Get it. I use these shorter ones most of the time. The big eye needles are extremely sharp on both ends. They're very, very sharp, and then they're split in the center. When I use big eye needles, I use them, let's say I have a necklace like this, okay? And I'm gathering all of my, I'm going to move these because we've talked about these. Let me get these over here. This is all on nylon thread, right? This nylon, if I have to get all of my threads, see how this is like a bead that has a really big hole? Maybe those, maybe all those threads don't want to go through like a big collapsible eye needle, and I want to use a big eye. It's perfect for stuff like this, right? Oh, Carrie, send me the link for that, would you? And I'll add it to our Amazon store. Okay. The big eye is really sharp on both ends. This side is sharp, this side is sharp. So they're meant to be used on both sides. Then, see on the inside, look at how big they open up. Here, let me get that dark behind it. See how big they open up. Okay. Big. Now, this needle can break. Okay. At this juncture, right here, the junction of where your needle comes together, these are soldered together here and here, okay? And if you're trying to pull too much thread through a hole that's too small, these will split. They just do. Okay? So you need to be careful not to use these for beads that are too small, holes that are too small. But if the hole is ample enough, these work great. And yeah, you can't really tug on these. These are just meant to guide your threads. Okay, and the needle, again, the eye flexes down to go through. Okay, and you can get them in the 4-pack. They're the 2¼ inch, or you can get them in the 6-pack that have the different sizes. Okay, so those are they. Now, let's take a look at some rigid needles. Let me put this needle away so I don't poke myself. So we did those. Here are the rigid needles. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Carrie. I'll add it to a storefront. I also have to add everything with the resin. I promise you. I will do that, and I'll link it in our newsletter. I just had to sleep yesterday. Rigid beading needles, size 13, size 12, size 10. We carry them in the 3-packs, and we carry them in the 25 packs. Okay, do I have a 25-pack here? Those are Glovers. Here we go. Like this. They look like this. Okay. Size 12 is a lot of people, their default is 12. I use a 10 a lot unless I'm doing a lot of passes through and I need a needle that's a little smaller. I'll go to 12. To be honest, I rarely use 13s, but we have them because some of you like 13s. If you're doing, let's say that you're doing peyote stitch with the size 15 beading needles, you're going to need this 13, right? You just are. I am not doing peyote stitch with size 15s, though I'm not ruling it out, but that's perfect for these. Now, some of you are saying, you know, these needle eyes are so small, right? I'm going to attempt to string some KO through a size 13. It might all end in tears, but we'll see what happens. Let me see if I have a size 13 here. If I don't, I'm going to have to open that one. A size 13 beading needle, the eye of the needle is small. It just is small, right? Yeah, here's a 13 right here. This is a tiny, tiny needle. So I'm going to come in. Here's my little pad for the back. I know, I need some wax. Wax is still in the, is there one just laying here? No. All right, I'm going to attempt it without. All the wax is in the retreat stuff. I'm going to come in, I'm going to pull my thread right down to my thumbnail. Let me see. Let me zoom in. There we go. Let me see if I can needle that KO. I can't see it. I gotta get, come on. Come on. Did I do it? No. Hold, please. I'm also going to flatten this with my chain nose a little bit. So this is flattened down. That'll help. Okay, I need to get right on here. Hang on. I'm going to turn that eye. I can see the eye. Can I see the thread? Doesn't like it. I got it. Hold, please. I'm going to get it kind of closer to my field of vision here. You folks understand, right? I can't get it under the camera. Let me give it one more try, and then I'll go to a 12, and then I'll show you the tip that I want to show you. But you know me, I'm stubborn. I want to get that thread through here. If you're using, let's say that you're using Nymo or some thinner threads, right? The KO also might be a little thick for it, which is why I flattened it. There we go. I think I got it. She says encouragingly. Yes. Hang on. Now I got to pull it through. I can't lose it. Hang on. Coming back on camera. Coming back in just a second. Let me get it. Let me get it. I'm in charge. I'm in charge of you. Thread and needle. Hang on. Oh, crap. Let me show you what happened. Look. Wah, wah. My needle I broke. It's because this was kind of bunched up and I was trying to pull the extra thread through, right? It's all right. I'm going to go to a 12. I'll show you what I would do, and we can pretend it's a 13. That's why I don't use 13s that often, but it can happen. You can, with some patience, but I don't want to be that patient. Let me get a size 12. Oh God, this was a sample of size 15s. You know what we're not carrying? Those. That's why I needed a little bit of wax for that 13 beading needle, just a touch, and it would have been better to keep it all together. There's, all that it seems I have is size 12 beading needles. Hang on. Oh, here's 12 right here. Yeah, we're not getting these 15s. You know what we're not doing? Those 15s. Let me put this on a 12. A size 12 needle will now feel giant. Oops. There's one. But I want to show you this trick. And it's hard to do under the camera because it's not my optimum beading length. See, there we go. That sailed right through the 12. All right, that's good. So what I do with a 13, once I have a piece of thread through, I'll tie a knot and I'll make a leader. I call it a leader, so that I can thread more thread through this large thread eye. How many times can I say thread? Right? I'll tighten it down. So I've got my thing there, my knot. It's a little, right? And I'll tighten it up. And this knot rather, will sail through a lot of stuff. Okay? Some things they won't. But you can use this like even with a size 12, right? See, there's my little leader right there. Okay? And so that's why, play around with the 13s if you're using 15s. But I feel like, let me see if I have a size 15. I do have a size 15 here. Let's see what it looks like if it goes over that. Let's just test it. Here's a 15. Okay. Yeah, Terry. The size 15 needle challenge. Exactly. Right? Maybe I'll get some just to drive you all crazy. No, they're not showing up. Sorry, let me do that. Okay, here's a couple of 15s. Let's see if this leader with the knot goes through. Okay. Let me put that 15 away. And this is a size 12 needle right here. But again, I had the eye of the needle with a leader on it. And yeah, see, it sails right through. Right? Like that. So it's perfectly fine with these 15s. The type of thread, you could use some thinner. Like if you have, let's say they've got like Ceylon, the Ceylon, the Ceylon D is pretty small. If you have some Nymo, some old school threads. And I think this KO will actually fit. The reason that this didn't work is that the end of my thread was split, and I was trying to pull that through and get this split through, and it was just too wide, too bulky for the eye, and the eye snapped, right? But the eye really is small. So this is the leader right here, Carrie. And if, let's say that you have trouble threading this small needle on a 12 or on a 13, you could tie that leader on, and then you don't have to worry about, when you rethread the thread, you thread through the leader. See there? So instead of threading the eye of the needle, that becomes the new eye. Does that make sense? Like this. Okay? Then when I put my 15s on, and you can make your leader a different color so you can tell, but see how you put those 15s on, and they should, yep, see, they pop right over like that. Okay. Okay. So those are they. We also have the sharps. You know that I use sharps all the time. I use them in stitching. I use them for embellishing. I use them for bead embroidery. I also use them for like hemming and stuff, or quilting, right? Sharps are great. I love them. They come in, we carry them in size 10. Though they do carry sharps in other sizes. I actually might add sharps in size 12 too. I'm going to add that to my notes. Because I like a short needle, just from all of my hand sewing days. And these are really great for embellishing, right? I like it. And yeah, it doesn't bend quite as easily. I really like it. Also, if I'm doing beading around, doing beaded beads like this, I use sharps a lot because I like the short needle for beaded beads. Okay. But it's a real choice, right? It's a real choice for you, whether you like a longer needle or a shorter needle. Okay. Let me go back and look at the Needlepedia, making sure. Oh, let me show you the Glover and the tapestry needle. Okay, let's look at those. We don't use those as much. Oh, I completely forgot about these. I'm sorry. Let me show you these. These are color eye, and we carry the color eye needles so that you can tell the difference between the sizes. The color eye on the black is a size 10. The blue eyes are a size 11. It's the only size 11 we carry. And the 12s are the red. Okay? So they come 2 of each. And they're a handy. I like these. I like these. They're fine. I usually can tell the difference, so I don't use these a lot, but we do carry them. Okay. So that's the color eye. Okay, so those are all the rigid, like the seed bead needles that we've got. I'm going to make sure that these go there, these go there, these get put away like that. Let me get a glover and a tapestry. Glovers, hang on. I need to look through all of these needles look the same. Hang on. There's the glovers. Let me make sure it's the right size. When we were looking at glovers, they sent me just a ton of samples, so I want to make sure I have them in the correct size for you. Bear with me here just a second. The glovers that we carry are number 4. Hang on. Number 4. As I rustle around. Hang on. Yeah, here they are. Good. All right. Now the glovers, I'm going to put this back up on the, I want to put this back on right here. Here's the glovers, right? And you can see how this is stitching. The glovers are stitching through the ultra suede. So the glovers we carry are a size 4. So if you're stitching through leather, ultra suede, stuff like that, I'm going to try and show you this needle. It has a little, it's like a little triangle, right? It cuts through. So let me show you. Let me get a little closer here. I don't use these often, but when I do, you really need it. Okay, can you see the tip here, how it's kind of like a little triangle, and it's really sharp, super sharp. And then it has the eye of the needle over here. This is a piece of leather here. I don't have a thimble, but if you're piercing leather, see that? See how thick that leather is? That's what the glover does. Sharon, thank you for the clarification. Glovers are the type of needle. This is a glover. So if you're stitching through leather, and we only carry the size 4, I think is what we carry. So it's heavy enough to get through, but thin enough that, you know, you can pierce pretty easily. Okay. I like a glover. I don't use it often, but when you need it, right? It makes it a lot easier to get through leather, right? Terry, they're kind of an upholstery needle, but glovers are, they're a little different. Upholstery needles are thicker, but with a really sharp point. Glovers are made to pierce through like leather and suede and stuff like that. So there are glovers that are thinner. And so we should, oh, we do carry size 10. Thanks, Michelle, for checking it. I thought we might. Let me see. Let's look at the size 10. Good thing. Thanks for checking. I know I've got the size 10 glovers. You would use the size 10 for smaller beads. See, we've got so many dang beads. Dang, here's the, no, those are the sharps. We've got so many glovers, so many needles, that I don't know what we carry. There's the 10s. I know I've got them in here somewhere. Hang on. Those are 6s. There we go. Here's the glovers in 10. Let's take a look at the difference. Okay. Here's the 10. I'm going to pull it out. So see, it's a little, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's a little thinner. Here's the 10. Here's the 4. So the higher the number is, the thinner the needle is. Okay. Oh, it looks like just 10. Oh, well, we need to add these. Okay, well, here's the 10. Then I think I need to update our document, because we need to add a larger glover. We need to have these both. Because see, here's the 10. The 10 still pierces through. Not quite as easily. All right. So if you're beading onto the leather, so let's see if this glover, what this glover goes through. Let me get my thread. Let's hide it. Okay, no 4s. Okay, well, we'll add the 4s. We'll get the 4s back in. We'll get a bigger one back in. Because for stitching in leather, we need it. Okay. So now I'm going to come through. Let's go ahead. Let me do a little edge stitch here. Let me go through. Okay. And I'm just going to tie a knot here so it doesn't go through. This isn't really how I do it, but you know. All right. Here's a size 8. Let me come up through the leather. Let me zoom out. Okay. On the leather. Let me go through this size 8. See, sails right through that size 8. Let's put a couple of them on. Put 3 on. Perfect. Right? Then I'll come down. There it goes. And I can reinforce it. But they go through the 8/0 just fine. There we go. There's that glover. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, you can bead this on anything that you want to bead onto leather. Are you making like a little, you know, like a little pouch, a little something? So that's the 10. The 4 that we were looking at, here's the 4. The 4 is a little bit bigger. I'm just going to slide this 8/0 on there just to see. I know, Glover needles, I'm telling you, they also fit on the 4s. Good to know. Okay. Glovers come in a lot of sizes, but this 10 is a really great size. I don't think 11s go on, but let me just look. Okay, hang on. I've got 11s here somewhere. I just want to test it. Come on, give me a size 11 anywhere. Is there an 11 here? Here's an 11. Let's just double check. I know the Glovers are great. I've used, because of leatherwork, I've used Glovers forever. Here's that size 10. These might be too thick. Yeah. So if we're doing an 11, we need to pop down. Let me see. I've got some smaller Glovers. Let me see if... Here's a Glover in a size 12. Let me see if that's the right size. Oh, that's not a Glover. Those are sharps. Hang on. It says Glover, but that's not it. Well, I don't know that I have any, but we'll get some that fit through the size 11s. Because with all of the bead embroidery that we're doing, it's nice to have that. Yeah, that's not it either. It's nice to have that ability to do the 11s. Okay. Because you can use, like, here's our size 10 sharp right here, right? This is the other thing I would use for leather, probably. But see here, you either have to have a thimble. There's no cutting edge on this to get through the leather. So sometimes I have to do this, push it down on a hard surface, right? And pull it through like that. So you could use a sharp, but it's not as easy. Your fingers fatigue pretty quickly. Okay, so that's the beauty of a Glover. Here's the tapestry needle. And the tapestry we use, it kind of has a blunt-ish point to it. And let me make sure of the size that we're using. Okay, let me make sure I've got the right one. I don't want to make that mistake again. Hang on. Oh, no, sorry. I don't want that. Hang on. Let me just double check the size. Yeah, Glovers we do in a size 10. Tapestry we do in a size 28. Yeah, I didn't think these were right. Let me go get the correct size so you can see them. Hold, please. Let me grab it. They're a blunt needle, so they're great for beading in and not catching threads. So Emily uses them to tie up her bead crochet so she doesn't nick the threads. Let me see if I can get those. Those are the Glovers. Those are sharps. Hang on, everybody. Are these those? Well, this is a little bit of a fail. I'll find them. Apologies, everybody. I can't quite lay my hands on them, but we'll look at the picture. Okay, and you can see the needle is blunt on the end. I'm surprised I don't have any with me here because I do actually use them quite a bit. They have a blunt needle or a blunt tip. Let me get back to this picture and I'll put it on so you can see it. There we go. And let me add it to this. Bear with me here. I know I am lost without Miranda, right? Let me do this. So there, can you see that? Janice has it circled there. That's the size of the tapestry needle that we use. That's the, it's nice and heavy. Great for weaving in, like as I say, with the tubular bead crochet. Anytime you don't want to nick threads and split them, right? Does that make sense? So that's that. Okay. Yeah, it's like a cross stitch needle. Very similar. Very, very similar. Okay, exactly. Let me show you, let me go back to here. Something we haven't added on there. We've got the bead spinner needles as well that we need to add onto here. Okay. We've got the larger and the smaller ones. We have both sizes for the bead spinner. The bead spinner comes with some needles, but when you need to add more, we do carry them. We've got them long and we've got them short. I don't know, I've used them both. I don't really see the difference much between using them, but they have the eye over here on this side. Oh, that's the difference with these. I think I only use these long ones. That's why I'm confused. See how this spinning string, look, it's a big eye is what it is. That's why we have it. That's why. See this here? And then these have the needle. The eye of the needle is smaller on the end. That's the difference. So I think grab anything that appeals to you with those. Okay. So the leader, Linda, where's the one that had the leader? If the eye, especially if you're using a needle that has a small eye, like the 12s or the 13s, and it's really hard for you to thread, if you use a needle that has a leader on it, you can thread very quickly through the leader instead of having to really struggle with threading through the eye. Okay. So that's why I put the leader on there. Last but not least, let me show you how to make a self needle with the 34 gauge craft wire. Okay. I'm going to cut, I don't know, this is 8 inches maybe here. Okay, let me clear all this away. Clear the boards. Gosh, I can go on about needles, can't I? Here we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it in half. I'm going to twist with my dominant hand and hold the finger of my non-dominant hand. No, let me try this again. I'm going to hold the ends with my non-dominant hand. I haven't made a needle in a while. And I'm going to twist with my dominant hand. So I hold it here and see how, as I'm twisting, see how my index finger, I point down to the ground, up to the sky, down to the ground, up to the sky. Okay. And I twist. Now this hand, and if you have trouble hanging on to it, sometimes I hold on to that with a plier. Okay. Like this. Whoops. And see, the needle gets fatigued. See how that broke away? Especially metal on metal. So let me go a little more gently. I'm pulling. See how I'm pulling so it's straight? Right? This is how we used to do it old school at Beadshop. Right? We used to make our needles. Let me zoom in so you can see it. We used to make them out of the craft wire. Let me zoom out. See how nicely twisted that is? Right? And so that needle is just like our friend, the collapsible or the flexible eye beading needle. It's just a little different, right? So we have this wire online in our wire. It's what people are like, why do you carry that? That's exactly why we carry it. Okay, so you'll always have a needle. Okay, always have a needle. It's great. And you can continue, you can do it with your fingers, right? You can just twist. Make sure that when you're twisting, though, you leave enough of the eye of the needle to get your finger out, right? You don't want that to become part of your index finger. Okay, so you point up towards the sky, down towards the ground. It's like you draw a circle, right? A circle like this, and this gets twisted. Okay, like that. All right, so that's it. There's some requesting. So what I'll do, where you can find this, a couple places. Let me add this. Let me do this. In the Needlepedia, if we scroll all the way to the top, the broadcast is linked right there. Look, there it is, right? It's right there. I'm live. I'm live right now, right? You can see your comments, right? Right there. That's where it is. Okay. I will also link it. I'll put it under skill builders right here. Okay. Like that. So you'll be able to find it there too. Okay. Hopefully that'll be helpful. Okay. That's it. I think I did it. Whew. Yeah, you could, Deborah, use a dowel, right? So that you could twist the dowel, right? Like this isn't really a dowel, but you'd have it here, you hold it here, and you twist that dowel, right? Like that. You certainly could. Okay. What else do I have to tell you? Let me put this back up. Those of you, some of you have asked, oh, I didn't get to use my retreat 20. I was either busy at the retreat, I didn't get to make my order, whatever. I'm only showing you this on the live broadcast today. I've reactivated retreat 20 until 11:59 Pacific time tonight, the 20th of August, 2025. So you can use it if you want to make an order. Also, needles are item of the week. They're marked 10% off already. on the website. So if you put needles in your cart and you stack it with Retreat 20, needles are going to be 30% off, which is nuts. I'm glad Janice isn't watching because I'd get in trouble. Not really. But it's time to stock up on those needles. Okay. I heard you loud and clear about some other sizes. I've got the sharps. We need some skinny glovers. And we're going to be adding the looming needles soon. Okay. Always let us know if there's a needle that you need and you can't find it, especially now with the demise of the big box. Joann's isn't there anymore. It's where a lot of people found needles, hand stitching needles, sewing needles. We can certainly add them on for you. Okay. We can add them. Yeah, right. You'll be able to, again, if there's something that you need, we can probably add them, right? I wanted to add one more thing. Oh, this was the last thing I have to tell you folks. At the retreat, my segment was a big wrap bracelet, right? That I did, my segment. It was all these crazy techniques, all of this stuff. Well, now that I've done it at the retreat, I'm going to do it as a series on the lives. And we're going to take each of those segments by segment. Okay. So that's going to start in September. Stay tuned to the newsletters because if you want to see, I'll share the sample I made and the tips and techniques. So we'll go from the first segment all the way through. So it'll be on live broadcasts, and my retreat people will be able to reference it. And those of you who couldn't make the retreat, you'll be able to make your own. Okay. That's it. That's all I've got. If you have any questions, you know where to find us. You can shoot us an email over at beadshop.com, info@beadshop. And we're catching up on those emails, though. Miranda answered a lot of things while we were away. Hit that like, subscribe, and notification button right there on YouTube. If you watch our broadcasts, it's really important for engagement and for those algorithms. So we really appreciate that. You can find our Facebook group, the Bead Table, over on Facebook. Hit us up on Instagram at beadshop.com. And our Pinterest pages are full, chock full of info for you. So don't forget to use that Retreat 20 until midnight tonight. I'll be back on Friday with a free tip Friday. That's it. I'm going to go have the rest of the day. I'm playing hooky. I'm going to spend some time in my sewing room. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I'll see you on Friday. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.